Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon, and with me, as always, is Caleb. And we are kicking off an interesting month for November, coming back from the long Rocktober, and we're going to be talking about movies that neither one of us have seen. So, kind of a different twist there, because most of the time I've seen the movies and Caleb hasn't, and then the other times it's you've seen it and I haven't. So we don't really like experience movies for the first time doing this. But today we're going to be talking about Oldboy, which is a Korean action drama. But before we get to that, we're going to do like we always do, and we're going to talk about what we've been watching. And it's been a long time since we recorded, so maybe Caleb will actually have something.
I actually do have something, but it's like such a short list still. It's kind of comical.
That's all right. I got a huge list and I got to whittle down.
Yeah. The two movies that I did get to watch were extremely long movies.
Okay.
So, if that counts for anything, I guess.
It was The
Um,
Postman and Waterworld.
Maybe about the same length and time, but no, not those two movies.
You started watching them on October 1st and just now
And
finished.
just now done. Nope, not quite. Actually, I would be kind of curious if the two movies I watched are longer than that, though. I
Hmm.
watched the two Dune movies, the new ones.
Rock.
So those are like, I think they're both like 3 hours long
Oh
each.
man.
Um,
Imagine if there was a Zack Snyder cut.
right. So here's the story and the reason why I watched them. I took a trip in October to California, and so I was able to watch them on the plane.
Hmm.
On the plane on the plane ride out there, it was actually on a Friday night, so I got to watch football, which was awesome. But on the plane ride back, it was a Tuesday, so there wasn't really anything going on. So I watched the first Dune movie, because the plane flight was like between 4 and 5 hours long. So I watched the first one, and then I watched half of the second one, and then I finished it after I got home.
That's funny. That's really like the best way to experience a long movie.
It actually is. I was just like, dude, this is such a perfect opportunity to do this. So I was actually really kind of excited to do it because not only that, but I was able to watch them so close to each other that I didn't have to go through that lull sometimes where it's like you miss something. Like that was another thing that I really enjoyed about watching Game of Thrones when I did.
Hmm.
Like I just consumed everything. And so when I was watching, I don't even know how many seasons there are. Like let's say like season 6, it was not that long ago that I watched season 2. So when they reference something from season 2, I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Not like Stranger Things where
Oh
you
my
watch
gosh.
the one season and then it takes like 4 years for the next one to come out, so you have to go back and watch the entire series all over again.
I know. I should actually probably after the new year I should just start rewatching that show because by the time I watch all the seasons, maybe the last season will be out.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
probably
probably what we're gonna have to do too.
I love how they just gave that little teaser about it coming out and they're just like 2025 and I was like, "Cool. December 29th, 2025."
Yeah, probably.
Just like wait until the end of the year.
Uh, it wasn't actually 2025. It's gonna come out in 2025 days.
Ha! Nice.
Uh, yeah.
But yeah, that's basically I mean, I watched a lot of college football, um and was able to kind of enjoy a for the most part, a relaxing month of October because we weren't recording. We always pre-record October, and so it was kind of nice to have the downtime. And now we're back at the weekly content.
Yeah. So for me, I consumed I don't even know how many horror movies in October. I would say probably at least like 25.
Oh, you didn't keep track?
Well, I mean, I had one for every single day in October, but a lot of those I watched like, in the summer and everything to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
But I could just throw out some of the ones here that kind of stood out to me. So I got this poster for my office at work that's like the top 100 horror movies of all time, and it's got like scratch off things. So you scratch off the square every time you've watched one, and there's a
Okay.
fair amount on there that I haven't seen. So I watched things like The Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, and some older movies like that. So I got a few of those under my belt. Freaks was another one, a Todd Browning movie. That wasn't even really like a horror movie. It was more of just like a drama. And like some of these old movies are only like an hour long, so they're
Oh
easy
yeah.
watches. I guess other like outliers, I watched Maxine, which just
Oh,
came
that.
out this past year.
Yeah, I was gonna say that new movie. Yep.
Yeah, the A24 one. I thought that was pretty good. I know it's part of that trilogy X, Pearl, and Maxine, and I watched part of X, and it was like really strange, and I just wasn't in the mood to watch it at the time, and I haven't gone back to check it out.
Gotcha.
And I didn't watch Pearl, but I watched the third one and I enjoyed it, so I'll have to go back and watch the others.
Nice.
Some of these other ones I mentioned in shows when I watched it. Um, I would say probably the biggest thing that happened is I went to the theater and watched 12 hours of horror movies. I do it every year. This year they had Scream 2, trying to remember off the top of my head here, Tremors, the David Cronenberg The Fly that has Jeff Goldblum in it.
Okay.
Um, Wishmaster, which is a an interesting kind of fun movie. Oh, the Zack Snyder version of Dawn of the Dead, which that movie surprised me. Like I'd never seen that one before. I like the original one a lot, and I thought his remake was pretty good. It was fun.
Ah,
It was a kind of a high paced, they're running zombies and stuff, so it was pretty cool. And then the last movie they had, you could choose. You could choose between it was a surprise, which ended up being Shaun of the Dead, or you could watch Terrifier 3. So I chose to watch Terrifier 3 because I've seen the other two. And
mm-hmm.
like I've seen Shaun of the Dead multiple times. So I actually enjoyed Terrifier 3. I thought it was better than the other two. I think it's hilarious that that movie became number one in the box office over the Joker movie. That was a musical and everybody seemed to hate.
Mm-hmm.
So that cracked me up. So the first Terrifier movie was just like gory kill after gory kill stitched together with just like this person goes there. Now Art the Clown kills them. Like there was no plot at all to it. And
Okay.
like I got really bored with it after like the first 45 minutes. Then the second one was like 2.5 hours long. And like they had a plot, but it was just way too freaking long for a slasher movie, especially a gory one like that. And then the third one was like an hour and a half. It was like this. It was like hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, something like that. Um, which is like the perfect amount of time for a horror movie. It had some comedic moments in it, and like the acting is actually pretty good in it. Like the guy who plays Art the Clown is actually really good at it. Like he could be creepy and then also like make you laugh at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl who plays the final girl, she's really good. Um, like she can play uh kind of vulnerable but then like tough at the same time, and it's believable that she can like fight back and win. So, and she shows like some really good range of emotion in that movie. Like I feel like her uh performance in that's going to be overlooked because of the kind of movie it is, because it is like ridiculously gory and just over the top. I guess my biggest issue with those movies is when every kill is an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. It kind of just becomes like a whisper on a screen.
Sure.
It's the same thing over and over. But really, other than those, not a whole heck of a lot. I started watching the Office Superfan shows on Peacock. So that's really like my only non-horror thing. Oh, and I guess I read the novelization of Halloween. I got
Ah,
the illustrated version of that, so that was pretty fun. There's some slight differences from the movie, but not a whole heck of a lot. It's pretty faithful. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I have way more, but I'm gonna cut it down for time's sake. But yeah, let's talk about Old Boy. Old Boy, it is from 2003 and is directed by Park Chan-wook. I'm probably gonna slaughter a ton of names in this, so I don't know,
go
strap
for
in
it.
and get ready for it. Oh, the plot is after being kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years, Ode Sue is released, only to find that he must track down his captor in 5 days. The cast, we got Choi Min Sik as Dae-soo, Yu Ji-tae as Woo Jin Lee, Kang Yi Young as Mi-do, Kim Byung-ok as Mr. Han, and that's pretty much all I got on there. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
but
characters in this, and just, yeah, those
yeah,
are like the main ones.
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't even really looking at this list really recognize who past that point.
Yeah, that's when I was looking at it too. I'm like, I don't really recognize these people because those are like the main ones.
Hmm.
This is a first time watch for both of us, which is a common thing for this entire month.
Yeah, except for there was a really disappointing thing that you just told me about, is that you already knew what the end of this movie was.
Yeah, I think it was ruined um in a YouTube video that I watched of like I don't movies with crazy twist or something like that, maybe. I don't remember. It was probably one of those like um oh WatchMojo videos or something like that on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. Because when it started to get closer to the end of this, and I'm like, oh man, I think I know what happens.
Um, that's too bad because that's like, I mean, it doesn't ruin the whole movie, because there's so much that happens in this movie, but that, um, I don't know. It takes the twist at the end takes it from like a good movie to an insane movie.
Yeah.
Like it just skips great and goes to insane because it's just like it's weird to say, and I don't know exactly when we're gonna just cut to the chase and everything. If you have not seen this movie, don't listen to this. Because it is going to be far. Well, first of all, one, you might not be ready for it because it is kind of extreme when you
Yeah.
when you break it down and when we get to that point. But if you really are one of those people that wants to watch a movie and experience it, don't listen to this because once you hear what the twist is, watching the movie and knowing what's going to happen just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like Sleepaway Camp, where
Yeah.
it builds up to like an ending that you're not going to see coming.
And if you knew what
Yeah.
it was, then it would just kind of
Spoil it for you.
yeah, huge spoil. Like there are different things where movies have twists and everything and it'll spoil it for you where it's just like, "Oh, you knew what was coming." But there
Hmm.
are other ones where there's a significant shock value with it, and this is
Hmm.
definitely one of those where there is a high shock level value and if I had known ahead of time, it would have I don't know it. I mean, I'm glad you didn't kind of start piecing it together until the end of the movie
Yeah.
because honestly, I feel like it would have ruined the entire thing, really,
Right.
if you knew what was coming, because then you'd be like, piecing things together the whole entire time.
Yeah. It wasn't until maybe like the last 15 minutes where I
Okay.
started like thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, is this that movie?
Yeah. And that's the thing too that was good. It was that it was at least like that.
Yeah.
But that is the huge like I I am having a hard time. I think the last time I had one of those moments like I was sitting there and I can't even exactly remember the reasons why, but I was watching at the kitchen table on my laptop and I just had like my head in my hands like what the actual crap just happened. And the last time anything hit me quite like that may have been some of the crazy things that they did in Game of Thrones when I watched that. And that wasn't even
Okay.
when it came out, it was after that. But yeah, there aren't too many times where I'm just sitting there and like I have to process what just happened.
Yeah, kind of like the end of Saw.
Yep, the first Saw, something like that. Uh oh, why am I blanking on it? Um Usual Suspects
Oh
is
yeah.
one of my favorites. Um
Sixth Sense.
and yeah, Sixth Sense. That's a big one. Have you seen the TikTok thing going around where parents are showing that to their kids?
No.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've never seen The Sixth Sense.
Oh, but you
Oh
know the
yeah, because
story.
it was
Yeah.
that ending was ruined for me like, you know, 15, 20 years ago, so I just haven't got around to watching it.
Yeah, I feel like that movie would be kind of pointless if you know what the twist is.
Yeah.
Because outside of the twist, it's not, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. I don't think it's that great of a movie. Like there are some movies that are just good for the twist.
Hmm.
I feel like that's one of them. This movie, though, while the twist is a huge part, I mean, there's a lot of stuff still in it that's entertaining and makes it a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, one thing I had that was really strong in this movie was the cinematography
Hmm.
and like the editing, like the cutscenes, how they kept showing like the clock,
Yeah.
and then like the clock would appear in different ways, and then it would like transition away in different ways. Like there'd be wipes and pans and all that kind of stuff, or it would like all of a sudden morph into something that was in the background. I don't know. It was
Mm.
just handled really well.
Yeah. I'll be honest. That was with this being a foreign film outside of keeping up with the, wow, not the dubbing, the
Subtitles.
subtitles. Thank you. I don't know why brain farted there. And I have no problem with subtitles, but other than keeping up with the subtitles, I was completely lost on the whole time aspect. Like, I was just like, I don't even know where we are. I know he's running out of time. That's all I can tell you. So,
Right. Yeah. Um, I struggled a little bit with the subtitles. Just it's been a long time since I've watched a movie that has subtitles.
hmm.
And a lot of times when I watch movies for the podcast, like it's movies I've seen a decent amount of times, so I don't have to pay like super close attention to them.
Yeah.
Or it's something that like I can pick up what's going on by listening to it as well. And I
Hmm.
don't have to like stare at the screen the whole time and read what's going on. And it's like not I don't really have too much of a problem with subtitles. It's just like trying to watch the movie while you're doing something else and trying to find the time to like devote to reading the subtitles.
Yeah.
Tough for me. And I also said that it's like I'm too stupid for foreign movies. I always
Well,
have to go and read like on Wikipedia the plot and like, oh, that's what was happening at that moment. I do that with the Italian horror movies a lot too.
yeah. Well, foreign movies can be kind of crazy, but then also, yeah, I totally get what you mean with the subtitles because there is a completely different level of focus with that because you can't look away and hear what's being said.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, it is undivided attention. So,
Yeah. That'd be like really my only downfall. And it's a little on the longer side because it's like over 2 hours long, or it's a little bit, maybe a little bit under 2 hours. I can't remember.
hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's more positives in it than negatives. Um, the fight scenes are pretty decent. I kind of wish there was more of them.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more too.
Yeah. Um, and some of the fight scenes kind of reminded me a little bit of John Wick, where it's just like this one guy who's like tough and he knows martial arts and he's fighting a whole bunch of guys in like a confined space.
Hmm.
Like some of those kind of reminded me of that. I mean, not as good as John Wick, but
Well, it totally made me think of Squid Game at the
yeah.
beginning with the imprisonment, and it also gave me Battle Royale vibes.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, partially, with the kind of film that it is, but also just kind of the some of the feel of the movie. Like,
Yeah, how it's
not,
shot.
yeah, not that there was a twist necessarily in Battle Royale. I mean, there was some interesting stuff that they threw in there. Um, but like at the end of Battle Royale, they did some of that thing, some of the same things of being like showing the character's past.
Yeah.
And I think that really kind of triggered it too, where it's had some of those similarities. So
Yeah, I can see that.
it was
Um,
also kind of weird too, actually, though, because at one certain point in time, I was just like, definitely outside of certain parts of the movie,
mhm.
the fighting, racing, like all the action stuff, I was just like, I could totally see Jackie Chan doing this.
Oh yeah, and even like the guy was a little similar looking to Jackie Chan,
Yeah, there were a couple
I'd
times
say.
where I was just like, eh?
Oh my God, it's Jackie Chan. Yeah, a couple times like when he's kind of disheveled,
Yeah.
and his hair's like all messed up and everything, and he kind of just like looks up at the camera. I was like, hey, he kind of looks like Jackie Chan. I guess maybe that just means we're racist. I don't know. That or we just really like Jackie Chan.
Well, that honestly, and I mean, it's just difficult sometimes, like when they show a bunch of characters in these movies, but then they don't like do clearly identify them in different ways.
Yeah, and sometimes
I'm,
they can look similar.
I know, and I'm just like, wait, is that guy or the other guy?
He had that one friend that he was talking to on the phone that got killed,
Yeah.
looked like a younger version of him,
Mm-hmm.
like a slightly younger version of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had like the same haircut and everything. Like that was a little bit confusing at times. Um, I will say, it's kind of hard to gauge sometimes with foreign movies, but I thought the acting was pretty solid all around.
Yeah, no, I thought everybody did a good job acting.
Yeah. Especially the main guy. I thought he was pretty good. He showed probably the widest range of all the actors. The bad guy, he was definitely just like a loathsome character that you wanted to hate.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was handled pretty well. The girl, I don't know. She was just kind of there, I guess. They don't really like that's a kind of a common problem with a lot of movies is that they don't build female characters very well, and she was just, I guess, kind of there.
Yeah. No, I kind of had the same thing where she was, even though she was such a main character, they didn't really do anything to, I don't know, make you care a whole lot or see a lot
Right.
of progress with her as an individual.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there's a few times watching this movie where I felt lost. And like you said, the getting some of the characters mixed up. Um, some of the more ambiguous things that I had to like read about, and then I kind of understood what was going on. Um, there are some there are some interesting things in this movie. Uh, so after like he gets kidnapped, and he has to like spend 15 years in like this hotel room that like it's filled with gas and knocks him out.
Mm.
One of the first things he does when he gets out is he goes to like a restaurant and literally eats a live squid or octopus.
Yeah, that
That was pretty
was
gross.
yeah.
He just like scarfs it down.
And then he
Uh,
passes out.
yeah, and then he passes out. Like, yeah, I probably would too, because that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That's
No, there was a couple of things that made me squirm a little bit. That and when he ripped the dude's teeth out with the hammer.
yeah.
Yeah, when he like followed the guy and he was trying. There were some interesting things with that though. He's trying to like, get the guy to talk so he could try to figure out where his captor is at. But some of the things, like I don't know how to explain it, like graphically or the presentation of it. When he had the hammer and he's like holding it up over his head, and there's like a dashed line that pops up on the screen and goes bing,
Yeah.
and it like aims from the hammer to the back of the guy's head. Like that made me laugh. It kind of caught me off guard. Uh,
Yeah, it was a little random how they did that because they didn't really do much else with that.
yeah.
So,
One thing I did kind of appreciate was the hallway fight that they had.
oh yeah.
That was really cool because so he's like fighting off. It has to be like 15 guys,
Hmm.
10, 15 guys, and they're all like jumping on him and stuff. And then at one point, they're just like stomping him into the ground. And then they're checking on him to see if he's still alive. And he pops back up and starts fighting back some more. And he's got a knife sticking in his back.
Yeah.
And he fights the whole time with that knife in his back, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Because usually, like in action movies, if a guy gets stabbed, he pulls the knife out and then he starts fighting.
Yeah. And well, eventually, like after everything was done, he eventually pulled it out. It was
Yeah.
basically kind of like in a spot where I was just like, dude, I don't know if he's gonna get that out or not.
Yeah, because it was like under his shoulder blade. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. It was nice to see something a little bit different. Um, yeah, and then once he starts like, so this whole thing takes place over like 5 days after he gets out,
Hmm.
and then like he falls in love with this girl that he met at the sushi restaurant,
Yeah.
and like first he tries to like force himself on her, and she like rebuffs him, but she still keeps him around,
Yeah.
and then she just like basically takes care of him. And then all of a sudden they get like romantically involved with each other, and then they have like this really intense like sex scene, and it was like unnerving. And that comes into play at the end, but we'll get to
Yeah.
that when we get to that. And some of the dialogue during that was just like, this is really awkward.
Yeah. They were going for that like real, raw, awkward.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, it hurts, but I'm bearing it for you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What am I watching? Yeah, I think I like fast forwarded through some of that because I'm like, this is just making me feel awkward. It was an uncomfortable scene, kind of like Tommy Wiseau's love scenes in the room, where it's just like, okay, I've had enough seeing this guy's butt thrusting.
Mm,
Uh, I like how in this he doesn't use your typical weapons.
yeah.
Like he uses a hammer a fair amount. He uses a toothbrush towards the end.
I feel like I'm forgetting some of the action parts, or maybe there just wasn't that much because there was the hallway scene, and then they
There was a
jumped.
fight with that gang too when he first gets out.
Yeah, there we go. There was the fight with the gang, which that was rather minimal, but that's when he realized, like, hey, I'm not in too bad a shape for being in prison for 15 years.
Yeah,
Then there was a hallway scene, and then there was that little scuffle in the girl's apartment. I guess there wasn't really a fight though.
yeah.
Um, and then
And
there was
then
the
it's,
fight in the penthouse. I
yeah, I
think
was
that's
gonna
it.
say, like, as he got to the penthouse after he figured out where his captor lived, and he's fighting with this. He's gonna like charge at the bad guy, and then like his henchmen step in, and that's when he like grabs the toothbrush and slams it in the guy's eye.
Hmm.
And like that scene reminded me of Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
Do you know like when they would do like those quick cuts and like flashes to something, like they'd mention something and like it'd be like whoosh, and then like show the thing they're
Sh-
talking about. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, show the quick action
Yeah,
scene
it
or
was like quick
something.
cuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
but because he like stabbed the dude in the eye and like it cuts really quick to like the apartment that he was in and a toothbrush in the toothbrush holder. And like you
Hmm.
see his hand grab it. I'm like, oh, okay. That was just kind of an interesting setup. Uh yeah, and then there's like this little dude with white hair, and it's like, okay, you know this guy, he looks different, so he's gonna be like a really good fighter.
He's
It's like
important.
it's like that scene in The Simpsons where the Yakuza shows up and like they're fighting with the mafia and in the Simpsons front yard, and Marge is like, "We should go inside. Like this is dangerous." And Homer's like, "Well, that little guy hasn't done anything yet, and I know when he does it, it's gonna be awesome." uh, yeah, that's what it reminded me of because then he like, that's really the only guy that gives him a good fight
Hmm.
because he like beats the crap out of the main dude,
Yeah.
and like while he's wrestling around with him, the bad guy goes and like shoots the white-haired guy in the head, which that caught me off guard.
Yeah, that was weird because I mean, the guy, old boy Dasuo or whoever you want to say the main character,
Yeah.
he got the guy in the white hair. He stabbed him
Hmm.
because
Yeah, in the ear.
he was causing him to bleed out of the ears. So I mean, I thought that he had kind of finished that and he had won, but then yeah, that Wu Jing guy, the bad guy, the whole thing just turned and shot the guy in the head.
Yeah. Well, should we get into spoiler?
Yeah, like
Try to explain what was going on?
what everybody, if I mean, if anybody has gotten this far, chances are they've seen this movie. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so right around the time where he fights the white-haired guy, I think it might have been like slightly before this, he finds there's like a purple package. And the
Mm.
purple package shows up like a couple times in the movie. And it's always like something important that comes from the captor. So like Woojin tells him like to go open it, and he goes and he opens it up and there's a photo album in there. And he's flipping through the photo album and it's like it shows Daisuo and like his wife and his daughter. And like he had his mind in his memory basically erased. Like he doesn't really remember who he is or like anything about his past because they hypnotized him.
Yeah, he doesn't remember much. Like the only things that he talks about really are his wife and his daughter. Like he
Yeah.
does, there's not a lot of other details.
Yeah. So like he's flipping through the photo album and then like it focuses on his daughter and they show her as like little and then it's like she's a little bit older, a little bit older. And then she's like a teenager and like all of a sudden they like pan to his face and then he's piecing it together that his daughter is the girl that he fell in love with after he got let out and he had sex with her
Yeah,
and he realizes what he did. And yeah, like he loses his mind. I mean, obviously.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, and he goes insane because he grabs the scissors and he cuts his tongue off.
yeah. He like try. Well, I think so. I think he opened the box. He had the fight with the white guy, the
Yeah.
white haired guy, and then Wu Jing killed the white haired guy.
Yep.
And then there's a phone call to Mito, his daughter, and
Yeah, and she's got a
she,
box too that has the same thing in it.
yeah, And so uh Dacio was saying I talked to her on the phone briefly and was just like, "Hey, don't open the box. Don't open the box. I'll be there. Just stay there. Don't open the box."
Yeah, whatever you do, do not open the box. Yeah.
He gets off the phone and then he basically like pleads with Woo Jin
Yeah.
on being like, "I will do anything you want me to. Just like let her go. Don't have her open the box." And well, the important thing too that we kind of glazed over, well, that we didn't even identify is why did this whole thing happen?
Yeah.
And apparently, long time ago, which I want to say this was like high school then for them. They were
I think
teens,
so. Yeah.
maybe middle school, but probably teens. They all went to school together. Dacio, Woojin, Dacio's friend, who, as we said, got killed,
Hmm.
and Woojin's sister, and then a bunch of other people that you don't know or don't care about. And Dacio saw Woojin have sex with his sister,
Yeah.
which is not good.
Yeah.
Not quite the same as what wound up happening, but not good. And he said something to his friend about it, and he was just like, "Dude, I think this happened. Like, this is crazy." And he's like, "Don't talk about it, but like, I needed to tell somebody." And then Dacio left and went to a different school or something.
Hmm.
And what wound up happening is the rumors went around, and then the rumors grew, and it went from her being a slut to getting pregnant and all this
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But I don't know if anything was specific about her and her brother. But then it got too much and she killed herself at the dam by jumping into the dam, I
Yeah.
think. And Woo Jin was there to witness it and he blamed Dacio for everything because he essentially started the rumors by telling his friend.
Right. Yep.
So his revenge was
To
I'm
make
gonna
Daseo sleep with his
to
daughter.
make Dacio sleep with his daughter. And that is so screwed up. That made me think of two different things. It made me think of Family Guy when they were doing the pranks on each other.
Yeah.
And there was the thing where one of them, I think it was Quagmire, they tricked Quagmire into having sex with Joe because they put a wig on him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I didn't feel anything, but you did. And then also that was the one where like they tried getting Quagmire with a bunch of different diseases and it didn't work. Um, so it makes me think of like, haha, made you have sex with your daughter. Like what the totally sounds like Family Guy joke thing. The other one thing that kind of made me think of was how they always said in New Girl that Winston would either do a prank that's too small or too big.
Yes.
And this just was way too big. Like way too big. And of course it wasn't a prank, it was revenge, but just still just like oh my gosh. I just
And it also made me think of there's an episode of South Park where Cartman gets tricked into buying pubes from like this older kid for $10 uh so to make it seem like he's like older. And then like everybody makes fun of him for it, and um Cartman gets back at Scott Tenorman, the older kid, by at the end, like he ends up making him eat his parents. And like it's like the most extreme thing ever. Kid has like a mental breakdown at the end of it. We're like, wow, don't mess with Cartman. It's like, yeah, go to one extreme to the other. Uh,
um but it just so this movie you don't understand why Dacio was imprisoned, but it turns into a revenge movie where it's just like, yeah, he's gonna get vengeance for being in prison for who knows what reason. And then it turns into like a revenge movie where it's just
yeah.
like, no, actually, he was getting revenge on you.
Hmm.
And it's just like super. effed up. Like what? Oh my! I like it just when I watched it. So I watched it. I think I finished it Tuesday night. I think it was Tuesday night. I don't know. I finished it after midnight, and I was about to text you and be like, "What the heck did we just watch?" Um, but it was a good thing I waited because I was just like, "Oh well, he may not even watched it yet." But
Yeah. Yeah, because I finished it last night, Wednesday night. But yeah. Yeah, and it leads him to go insane.
hmm
Oh, also, Woojin is also playing a recording of uh Daisuo and his daughter having sex.
yeah. Well, you realize
Like
how
the
he
audio.
you realize how he did that, right?
Yeah, because he had him bugged.
Oh well, not just bugged, but so he had that little device thing that he told Dacio was a kill switch for him.
Okay.
Like it would kill Woojin because he said he put a kill switch on his pacemaker,
Oh, okay.
just being able to kill himself. And so that's what Dacio thought the button he was pushing was. And then instead of it being like, "Ha, you did get the last laugh, you got to kill Wu Jin," it
Yeah.
was, and so him Dacio anticipating like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you for this." It actually started playing the audio from the night that they had sex,
Yeah.
and I knew it wasn't gonna do it. I was just like, I had envisioned that he pushed the button and it would have opened the box for Mito.
Oh man, that would have been awful.
But I mean, still, it was pretty bad. So,
Yeah.
and and then of course Woojin just winds up killing himself, anyways.
Yeah, he ends up shooting himself in a elevator.
hmm
Uh,
Now I did so everything leading up to Woojin killing himself, which I thought that was going to be the end.
hmm
Um, made kind of made sense. Like it was relatively straightforward, but it was what happened after that where I was just like, okay, what just really happened? Because then they did that little like I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a good thing or not. Because I mean, we talked about this a lot in horror movies, where like they always do that little bit at the end where it just
it ruins it.
yeah, it kind of ruins it. I feel like if they ended with Wu Jin killing himself, it would have been a stronger ending. Because after that, they showed Dacio meeting with the woman who did the hypnotizing.
To erase his memory.
Yeah, to try to erase his memory. And she said, we can do this, but I cannot guarantee what the results are going to be. Like, it's going to mess up with your mind, and you could get the result that you want, and it might not.
Yeah.
So she does it. And the thing that she has him visualize is like, hey, there are two of you. There is Dacio, and then there's the monster.
And the monster knows the secret and Dacio doesn't. And the monster, with every step he takes, ages like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, and he'll die in 70 years or something.
Yeah.
And so that's the vision thing that he has and everything. And he wakes up and he's outside where he had met her and everything, but he was by himself. Mito walks up and she's just like, what happened? Who are you talking to? They hug and then he gets a crazy smile on his face and
hmm
he kind of like it almost looks like he starts crying right at the end or something.
Yeah.
Like almost like he's like going crazy right at the end.
Yeah, it's a
So
little ambiguous at the end.
yeah, absolutely. So I looked it up, and I mean, there was no definitive information on it, which I wasn't too surprised. But just being like, well, maybe he got what he wanted, and he doesn't remember anything about it, or maybe it didn't work, and everything. Because basically, it's kind of weird because it's like, okay, if it worked, then technically he's going back to
Sleeping with his daughter.
yeah. I mean, if he doesn't remember it, then that means that he doesn't realize that she's his daughter. If he does remember it, then he just remembers everything and knows that he has to deal with that for the rest of his life. So it is really weird. Like I don't know what he was trying to accomplish really.
Yeah, not sure.
And that's why it would have been better if it just ended when the guy killed himself.
Right? Yeah, they pulled a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
What happened to the boy? You ruined it. Oh man. Anything else to talk about? I don't have a crazy amount for trivia and facts.
um I don't know. I mean this I guess a little bit before we go into the end of stuff, like I didn't know a lot about this movie.
Hmm.
I just knew that it had a lot of talk around it, was popular, people said it was a good movie. I had no idea there was a twist.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was just a revenge movie and this guy goes crazy and kind of like you did a good comparison, kind of like John Wick.
Hmm.
You know, a movie that probably inspired John Wick. And so I just thankfully, unlike your experience, was able to enjoy it and be able to experience that shock value. Um, Man, I don't know. I'm kind of curious on putting together a list of things that I've seen with the craziest shock values because this is definitely way up there, like
Yeah.
top three somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah, the ones that really shocked me, you got like uh I mean this would have if I would have known. Uh Sleepaway Camp, uh the first Saw movie.
Hmm.
You ever see Skeleton Key?
No.
That was one that blew my mind at the end of it. And then Dead Silence is another one too.
Okay.
That one's kind of goofy at the end, but it totally caught me off guard. I didn't see it coming.
Fight Club's another one.
Yeah, Fight Club. Yeah,
So
yeah. So trivia and facts.
rock.
The dude who played Daisuo
Hmm.
trained for 6 weeks and lost 20 pounds to get in shape for the role, and he did most of his own stunt work.
Impressive.
Yeah,
Jackie Chan.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's Jackie Chan. The line on the painting of Desu's cell reads, "Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone." These are the first lines of Ella Wheeler Wilcox's famous poem "Solitude."
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This was based on the Japanese manga Oldboy, not by Nobuaki Minegishi
Okay.
and Giran Suicha. That's my guess on names. This movie was included in the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, written by Steven Schneider.
Okay.
This was ranked number 29 in the non-English speaking film in the critics poll conducted by the BBC in 2018.
Hmm.
And the last thing I got is that this movie cost $3 million and it made 17.5 in the box office. And grades. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think they are?
Oh, IMDb uh 8.1.
8.3.
Ooh, I was close. Rotten Tomato critic 89.
82.
Ooh. Hmm. Okay. Audience 93.
94. You were
Ooh,
close.
man, I actually did too bad.
And then our grades. I will let you go first.
Well, this is kind of an interesting one because I was thinking about it. I mean, so this is kind of a suspense, a little bit of a martial arts movie, uh, twist, revenge movie. There's not too many other things that I would put in this same genre of this movie. So kind of comparing it to, there's not a lot of other things I would directly compare it to. Um, yeah, just uh, great movie. A little bit on the long side, but honestly, when they started piecing things together, like just putting things together, I didn't think it was too bad. Um, it just did such a good job of keeping you engaged and kind of like, I don't know, it maybe it was just me, but I was just like, okay, there's got to be something to this. There's going to be something on why this was done to him, but you didn't really think much past that. Like they tricked you into the whole like, oh, his the revenge was him being in prison for 15 years. Um
Yeah.
and they just like pull the wool over your eyes, and they really just executed it so well. But it wasn't just the twist, and they kept the twist so well hidden too. Like there are some where you know something's coming,
Mm-hmm.
and this one you maybe it's just me. I just didn't see it. Um and kind of what I was saying before too with some movies that have those big twists and everything. There are some that are rewatchable and some that are not. This is a more rewatchable one. It is a little bit on the long side. So it's just like I don't know how often I would rewatch it, or how soon I would rewatch it. So I'm a little bit torn. I think hmm, I think I am still gonna give it a 5 out of 5,
Rock.
just because it accomplishes so well what it was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was almost gonna just give a 4.5 out of 5. But it's hard for me not to give it such a huge credit for just being so
Original.
unique. Yeah,
Yeah.
original and unique. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5.
Rock. I actually landed on the 4.5. I
Rock.
think this movie does a lot of things really well. Like I said, the cinematography is great. The acting's pretty solid. It does a lot of original things and things that you see in later movies. So I wonder if this movie had like a fair amount of impact on other films. And, I talked about the quick jump cut things that you see a lot in Shaun of the Dead,
Mm.
which I think this came out like a year before Shaun of the Dead. Sounds about right. But I think really the only knock I have against this is that it's a little long and it's very dialogue heavy and you have to read the subtitles. So it's really a movie that you have to give a lot of attention to and be in the right mood to watch.
Hmm.
So that kind of docked it a little bit for me. Whereas something like Battle Royale has more action in it and
Yeah.
less dialogue. So it's easier to follow if you're not like, you know, giving it your full attention.
Hmm.
Where this has a lot of more intricate things going on and twists and turns and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was an enjoyable watch. I don't know how many times I'll watch it again, but I did enjoy it. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was pretty solid.
Rock. Yeah, I think something that I'll uh jump in real quick on there is like there are other movies that are more of like focused on the entertainment factor,
Hmm.
like Battle Royale, the action and stuff like that. And this was definitely leaning more into deeper context, um, serious, not undertone, but just like serious focus
Hmm.
throughout the movie. So yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying with that.
Rock. Well, I could say our next movie is in English. And it's a pretty well-known movie that neither one of us have seen, and that is Smokey and the Bandit. So I'm kind of looking forward to watching that. I've only seen like clips of it and parts of it on TV. Um, I always really like Burt Reynolds and I like Sally Field a lot, so yeah, I'm kind of
Rock.
looking forward to that. So if you guys are liking the show, subscribe and share. You can follow us on social media. We got a lot of stuff came out in October. We got a
Hmm.
lot of stuff on the YouTube channel. Oh, and I finally was able to finish the Slasher Quest episode that I was working on for a better part of a year.
Rock.
So you can
Yeah.
go check that out. That came out. I dropped that on Halloween, so it's about a 25-minute watch if you guys are down for that. And I got a whole bunch of episodes put up there over the last 2 months. So yeah, go check it out. Come by next time. We're going to be talking about Smokey and the Bandit. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.